First surprise feature. Well, the surprise feature. It's called the stability pool. And the stability pool, in Genius, the stability pool is it's a pool of collateral that is used to back Genius. Sort of a way similar to what the Federal Reserve did, but different. Very different. Way better. So this stability pool, let me get to, got an outline on this because if I, this is a, so the stability pool, what the stability pool does, one, we'll be able to say like, hey, Genius is backed by US dollar. That would be pretty cool. US dollar coin, or DAI, the decentralized stablecoin. So Genius will also have collateral backing itself up. But what is the point of this here? Remember, everything that happens with Genius has been done specifically and very intentionally to benefit everyone. And in the world we live in today, a lot of magical things are happening with finance. The only reason why a lot of magical things are happening in finance is, well, a lot of people when they heard about Bitcoin for the first time, or they hear about these other cryptocurrencies, they're like, this sounds way too good to be true. Like, this sounds way too good to be true. Well, it's because the math is different. You see, the current financial world we have has its rules and has its math, and it has its regulations. But in the decentralized world, the regulations are the code. The regulations are the software. I guess you could say the regulations are the blockchain itself. So this is a totally new, different world where new rules of finance can be made. Not only can new rules of finance be made, created to serve people and serve people better than all systems that exist in the traditional finance world, and do it better because human beings don't have to be hired for these monotonous purposes, for the monotonous work behind finances, financial auditing. So the decentralized financial world has a lot of financial magic, a lot of magic stuff going on, but it's real. It's just different. It's exotic compared to this traditional world. And for you that are watching this, like, congratulations on being involved in this. Like, this is the future. This is just as much of the future as the internet was when people were talking about the internet in the beginning. It was just as much of the future as people who were talking about computers in the beginning. You'd have people like Steve Jobs talking about computers, Bill Gates, right? And people from IBM. And the people from IBM, they're just so old school that they couldn't serve new people. But you see, like, even people like Steve Jobs were laughed at because, they were laughed at because people couldn't see the future. Now take this, for example. Take this iPhone, right? Here's my iPhone. I do my iPhone completely naked. I don't care if I drop it. I think they're sexy. They're beautiful. But the amount of technology in here takes crazy knowledge in changing the rules. So if you were to hear about a device like this 50 years ago, you'd have been like, that's impossible. So the fact that you're in DeFi today, you're in a great position. You're in a great position to be in decentralized finance because we can change the rules. And the Genius stability pool here does that. It changes the rules. It is definitely the most novel thing in Genius. So I'm going to have to read from some notes here. This will be in the white paper soon, maybe by the end of the week. But the Genius stability pool is a system where people can borrow Genius tokens in the form of a minted advanced miner. End users must put up collateral in order to borrow the newly issued Genius debt, and that collateral is decided and approved by the OA grantor. So basically, the origin address can approve collateral. The origin address, by the way, can change itself to be a different address, which can be a DAO, can be a smart contract in the future. And really, that's the idea behind it, if that happens. So instead of what this means is, a lot of things change tokenomics, like tokenomically, economically. A lot of things change economically from something like this. So if you have a current understanding of Genius from the white paper, The stability pool can sound like, whoa, how are you going to manage all those changes and what's going to happen? Oh, it was done. In fact, so what the stability pool does, let me just tell you the magic of it instead of the details. What the stability pool does is it's able to offer collateral to people. Well, it does two things. One, it incentivizes people to put collateral into the Genius smart contract. How does it do that? Well, let's say the open market price of Genius is $1 per Genius, right? The stability pool will have a certain price for Genius that it will offer to sell you Genius for. So for example, you can buy Genius on Uniswap. And let's say the price after fees comes to $1.02. And you look at the stability pool, and the stability pool says, hey, give me collateral, and I'll give you Genius for an average price of $1.10. You're gonna be like, $1.10? No, that's okay, I'll buy it from the market. I get a better deal from the market. Okay, get a better deal from the market. So, nobody's gonna take a worse deal. So how the stability pool incentivizes people to deposit collateral or to buy Genius from the stability pool is the price that is offered slowly decays over time. And eventually, as it slowly decays, it gets to a price that is lower than the market price. So eventually, you go to the Genius app. You see on Uniswap, cool, I want to buy some Genius today. The open market, it's $1 per Genius. The price isn't going to start at $1, but it'll get there. I think it will. We'll see. But then you look at the stability pool, and the stability pool is telling you, hey, give me collateral, and I'll give you all the Genius you want. Well, there's a certain limit. For an average of 96 cents. Or for an average of $1. And you're looking at the open market. The open market's $1. But let's say you're a whale and you wanna buy like $5 million worth of Genius. You can't always do that without moving the price up, and especially in the beginning. So the open market value, $1, might buy $5 million worth of Genius, moves it up to $1.20, moves it up to $1.05, $1.10, whichever. The stability pool will tell you, hey, yeah, you can buy up to 10 million. Give us $10 million of collateral. And the stability pool will issue you Genius that is, let's say, an average of $1. So it's a huge deal. Now, this huge deal, you might think like, any problems you think of, let me just promise you they're solved. So if you have any questions on this, please post the questions into Telegram, and I'd love to answer these. I'm just gonna let you all know in the room as well. Okay. All right, so the stability pool, so now a lot of benefits happen from this. One, there's now like $5 million of liquidity available. But what about this extra Genius supply? Isn't that going to be a problem? Or what about these extra rewards and inflation, the 4-point-whatever% per year? Isn't that going to become a problem? No, because this Genius is considered debt. So it's a long story, but basically, instead of it becoming a problem, it becomes more of a solution. So the stability pool, it'll tell you, hey, give me collateral, and I will give you Genius in the form of a miner. So, you're mining with it. You can't just dump it on the market. And so basically, you get a better deal for your Genius miner. And your rewards that you get are Genius rewards. And when you're miner, there's a different rule. You're going to love to see this in the white paper. But you can't end a miner early if it is collateralized. And other cool stuff. So there's an incentive for people to put collateral into the stability pool. And there's an algorithm, very simple algorithm, that moves the price of what people can buy this Genius for, or how much Genius they get by putting collateral into the stability pool. And one of the functions of that is, if there's extra selling pressure on the open market, people are selling Genius, they can also use the stability pool to gain that value. But here's one thing that happens. And here's one thing that happens. Let's say the market rate here dropped to 90 cents. Or, let's say it didn't drop. Let's say over time, just from this collateral, like getting locked up and stuff, and people putting in more collateral at a higher price than the market because it was more economical. Let's say the stability pool is going to give you $1.20 for any of the genius that you give it. So you have genius, you have liquid genius, and the stability pool, where it once tells you, hey, here's how much you can buy genius from the pool, it also tells you, here's how much you can sell your genius to the pool, and here's how much you'll get. So if you run into a situation where the stability pool is offering you $1.20, like let's say the collateral in the stability pool is US dollar coin, where you're going to get $1.20 per genius, and the market price of genius, let's say, is still at $1.05. Well, this incentivizes people to buy on the open market, which will add buying pressure to the open market to gain from that arbitrage of selling into the stability pool, of settling other people's genius debt in the stability pool. All right, so how does the price of the stability pool raise, though? That's the cool part. So, when you settle debt on the stability pool, you pay a small fee. The miners, in fact, the people who got a better deal for mining, they pay a fee as well. And this fee, where does it go to? The fee doesn't go to the origin address. The fee doesn't go to what we call the origin address beneficiary. The fee stays in the stability pool. So effectively, from that fee staying in the stability pool, let's say the fee was 1.6%, the price that is being offered to other people for any unsettled debt has now climbed 1.6%. So wherever the market is, the stability pool's price is rising because of this. Now it'd be great to give this fee to the miners, right? But no, this fee is internally there, is in the stability pool, not given to miners, but instead to give miners and other people, liquidity that, they can sell in the open market, but they can also get a definitive amount from the liquidity pool. There's a lot of fundamentals in the stability pool. And this collateral, by the way, is just locked in there. This collateral isn't actually used for anything other than to back the value of genius. And so, remember, with collateral miners, you can't end early. But with collateral miners, remember, there's things that people can run into with, like, late ending fees. There's there's things that can eat into that collateral for that user. If a user pays late fees, the late fees first come out of the collateral, which really means that when they end their miner, they'll get a little less collateral than they would have gotten before, but that little less, that difference, remains in the stability pool, thus pumping the price the stability pool offers people to settle the genius debt. And for people with liquid genius, they can do that right away. They can get an arbitrage opportunity. After all, if you have 1 million genius and you can sell it to the stability pool, you could rebuy it from the open market, and maybe you have a 1.1 million genius. So this is a cool tactic. Most genius users are probably going to be locked into miners because of the huge incentive. So what this does is this is something that will incentivize open market buying pressure. It will also incentivize people to use their collateral. And this is great for people who, let's say there's people out there who, they don't believe in genius's tokenomics. They're US dollar maxis. So they use US dollar coin. They're really, when you have a large chunk of money, you're going to want to use, when you're a whale, you're going to want to use things that have a lot more battle tested code, right? So, yeah. So the stability pool is completely decentralized, by the way. Of course, it's part of the Genius Smart financial contract. Yeah, so one more fundamental that I don't think is going to make sense verbally, but I'll try telling it to you. I mean, there's a lot more about the stability pool. But so the public can always settle Genius debt on behalf of these Genius miners. So, if you get a Genius miner, you're happy because you got a better deal. You're also happy because when you get your principal back, you get the collateral minus a small fee, and you get your Genius performance rewards, the ROI. So for people that want to live in safe US dollar coin world, this is an excellent option. However, with Genius's performance, you might not get your collateral in the end. But the one thing that you are guaranteed to get by using the stability pool, one thing you're guaranteed to get is a better deal than you would have gotten by purchasing directly from the open market. Does this mean it's going to replace the open market? Definitely not. The stability pool's algorithm, works to the intention behind the algorithms is to promote purchasing activity, is to promote buying pressure on the open market, while also backing the value of Genius via another collateral. Okay, so with your Genius miner, your collateral miner, as people from the public choose to pay off your Genius debt for you, what you have is you end up having like a percentage of your debt that's already paid. And that's cool. You don't have to pay that when you end the miner. You get the collateral instead, or or whatever. So the more people from the public that are getting a benefit from settling Genius debt with the stability pool, buying it on the open market, getting some arbitrage, the more of a percentage that everybody's debt is paid for, it becomes a greater incentive then for somebody to put in more collateral. Why? Because of how the tokenomics work. And the white paper will explain it. But let me try verbally. So imagine that, $1 million was used to collateralize a Genius miner, and it's earning rewards in Genius, right? It's earning rewards from Genius. The performance rewards are paid in Genius, and there's $1 million in collateral. Now, for it to be worth somebody to pay that debt off for you, either they got to be in a desperate situation for liquidity, or they're getting an arbitrage opportunity that has pumped the price up. So let's say half of that debt is paid for that miner, $500,000, right? And then you have some other whale or person. Let's say somebody that has $1,000. They look at the stability pool. The stability pool is offering $1 per Genius. Open market is offering $1 per Genius. Okay. But then this person who comes along with $1,000 also sees that half of the debt is already paid for. Well, when you come into the stability pool, if half of the debt is already paid for, then when you put in $1,000, get the amount of Genius into a miner, half of your debt is already paid for. Not exactly half, because the numbers change a little bit with your 1,000 that you put in there. If somebody came and put in another $1 million, my math could be wrong, but a quarter of your debt is already paid for. You see? So, just the mere action of you buying from the stability pool raises how much the stability pool is going to offer to people. So the stability pool, by user actions, is constantly figuring out what is it worth for somebody to put collateral in here. And from that worth of what they put the collateral in, it's a volume weighted, it's a volume weighted average of the price that the genius was given to people for from the stability pool and the amount of genius that was actually issued. And this value pumps upwards from fees being left in the stability pool. I hope I'm making sense here. And then so any gaps this creates in the stability pool being higher than the open market, not only does it also create incentives for people to put in collateral and then incentives for people to resolve the debt. I'm just going to stop right there because it's quite involved. And, I've explained it most of the time that I've explained this over the last 4 months has been to developers and has also been to people like Alex who are looking out after the tokenomics along with myself. And I haven't had much practice of explaining this to your average user, to your average person. And I think the best explanation is going to be one, the white paper, but two, I think the other best explanation is going to be people using this and seeing it, how it happens right away. So the stability pool will be in the next beta. Maybe the beta tonight. And the real thing that you're all beta testing is not the smart contract side of the stability pool, but what you're really beta testing is the UI and also and the smart contract, with the smart contract having different parameters that you can't really see, but different parameters that are our way of not stress testing it, but our way of pushing the tokenomics to the max. The best way that anybody's been able to see that so far has been the fact that every genius day, every real Earth day that goes by, that's 1,440 genius days, right? That's not reality. But your beta testing of this allows us to do that. In the beta, there are auctions. I believe the UI actually works with that on this next beta coming up. But on this next beta, you'll be able to see the stability pool. And by using it is going to be the best way to understand it. However, there's a lot of you who are really interested in math, really smart, really intelligent people. And you'll be able to translate this to other people. You'll be able to tell them the value proposition. You'll be able to tell them the utility of that. And this stuff is being launched September 9th. This is right around the corner. So this is a very bullish feature. No DeFi has this feature. And this is a major pumpamental. Remember, Genius itself has at least 30 different pumpamentals. These are all strategies to bring more value to people and incentivize people to bring more value. How do you incentivize people to do things? You give them value. That's how. It's like a chicken and egg problem, right? But, so yeah. Let me check out some questions here. Where does the Genius come from in the stability pool? The Genius it's newly minted, and anyone who pays that debt, or when your miner ends, sorry, let me start over. In the stability pool, right? Where does the Genius come from? Okay, stability pool. When someone puts collateral in the stability pool, the amount of Genius, let's say it's 1 million Genius, becomes the principal of a Genius miner. That Genius miner, when it ends, the smart contract ensures that all of that principal was used or is used to have the Genius go back into the stability pool. So effectively, that Genius that got minted and locked away gets burnt. So it never reaches the circulating supply. People from the circulating supply or the open market can buy Genius and settle the debt. When they settle the debt, it gets burnt, right? It gets burnt. And at most, 98.4% of the collateral comes back to them, and the other 1.6-ish% remains there as pumping the settlement price upwards, thus having an effect on the open market too. So the Genius that comes from the stability pool never touches, like when you do the accounting for this, it never actually touches the circulating supply. Now, what this does do, right? What this does do is it does have extra rewards come out yearly. The reward schedule for Genius is like 4.236% annually. And annually is like every 360-day cycles, not 365.25, which is how long your days are per year, including leap years. So, so you could say there's extra inflation, right? That extra inflation, the extra amount that gets inflated, because, you know, the stability pool has a maximum amount that will get minted into a Genius miner, and then there's extra interest from that. But ultimately, your miner has shares the reward pool, and while the rewards is 4.236% annually, not including any penalties or late penalties, you as the miner, you're always going to get more than 4%, unless you end early or unless you end late. You're always going to get more than 4%, unless you're a simple miner, right? And that's only if every single person is mining, which we already know won't be liquidity providers. If every single person is mining, and if no Genius has been burnt, because the more Genius that gets burnt, you know, the more the inflation, the more the rewards, the more miners earn rewards, especially the longer they have run rewards. Now, if you're a Hexagon and you do Hex, you also understand this as a rising price of T-shares. Like with how Hex simulates compounding interest is the same way that Genius simulates compounding interest, but in a different way, and especially with a stability pool. But here with the stability pool, those extra rewards that come out ahead of schedule, ultimately when that Genius is settled, the cost for it to be settled, it actually brings the Genius rewards to less than 4-point-something% per year. But as an individual miner, that doesn't mean, you know, the individual miner is always going to make more than what is paid out entirely. All right, if that doesn't make sense, I'm sorry, but I think Hexagons, that will make sense for them. Can you auction off the loan that came from the stability pool? Good news, yes, you can. Is the collateral used for something? Nope. I mean, it is. The collateral is used to pump the price of Genius. But you see here, you know, just because I say pump the price of Genius, please don't underestimate that. Please don't, you know, let me tell you what to please do. It's not really like the end result is higher potential for a pumped price for Genius. That's the end result. The potential is significantly higher. And after all, how we accomplish things in life are by aligning ourselves with all the potentials. But what it's doing fundamentally is not pumping the price. Because after all, we can't just pump the price of something. We can't just say, Ethereum, be up $2,000 more. We can't just say that. We can't say, you, whale. Yeah, you. Buy $6 billion worth of Ethereum now. Because it's not economical for the whale. So what Genius does is it finds economical DeFi ways within the contract and within the contract in ways that is affected by the outside world without being included in the outside world, but guessing the outside world, intelligently guessing it based on user actions. Combining this in incentives is something you got to pay attention to, right? Combining this with incentives. And what you get is a higher potential of a pumped price. Sure, are people going to liquidate? Yes. Are they going to liquidate early? Probably not because of the penalty multiplier. So, if you're scared of Genius's high earnings potential, that's what the basic miners are for. By the way, simple miners have been renamed to basic miners. In the basic miners, you can't lose your principal unless you're late. But so you see, is the collateral used for something? Yes. It's used within these tokenomics to be a way to incentivize people to do things. One of the ways is the collateral is there, which one helps as a belief system. Money is very much a belief system. That's why you have religions formed around cryptocurrencies. You have your Bitcoin maxis, your Ethereum maxis, your Hex maxis, which unfortunately are some of the dumbest maxis out there. I'm a Hex maxi, by the way. And as soon as Genius is released, I'll be a Genius maxi. Not really. I'm extremely open-minded, and I want to be. But the collateral, its use is one in a belief. Because people see, oh, it's backed by this. Two, what happens if liquidity providers go away? And by the way, liquidity providers actually benefit from this. There's more trade opportunities, there's more arbitrage opportunities, and that's how liquidity providers make their returns. So the collateral is there kind of like as a carrot being dangled in front of somebody. However, the actions of this person, besides following the carrot, they have benefits. Now, what is the end game theory? That's the important part. What is the end game theory? What's going to happen in the end, right? Well, what's going to happen in the end is really the same thing that you see with, with cryptocurrencies that are novel and are used. As we all know, the more a cryptocurrency is used, the more something is used, the more value it is giving to humanity either way. Photoshop, used by tons of people, has made Adobe rich, has made Adobe's investors very rich. It has made the people who are using Photoshop ways to derive passive income, except it's not passive because, they're doing their work to do it. Unless you're one of those advanced Photoshop guys that's always running batches of stuff. So Photoshop is like a renderer for you, but you get the idea. Does the stability pool exist to avoid trading open market and do P2P at an auction? Does the stability pool exist to avoid a trading open market? No, it doesn't avoid to avoid it. It avoids to avoids the stability pool. The existence of the stability pool is to supplement the open market. Yeah. So, for example, when you have liquidity, when you have collateral in a stability pool, that's collateral that can't disappear. Because after all, if a coin has, let's say, another problem with a lot of new coins, right, is their liquidity. Thankfully, there are decentralized exchanges so that any coin can get liquidity and any coin can have a better chance to show itself. But, when you have an open market, you have people using it, what happens if all your liquidity providers disappear? Well, the more liquidity providers you have, chances are, chances become lower and lower of that happening until, a better product comes out, right? And hopefully you can exodus when there's a better product. But so the stability pool, think of it like a liquidity provider who can't pull out. They only pull out when they serve their purpose. Liquidity. I think I got the whole point across on there. You're all gonna like the white paper. The white paper will probably be out after the beta, because most of what's written about the stability pool is written in the form of technological specifications and charts, like lucid charts, like logic charts and flow charts. And I gotta say, the stability pool was one of the very first inventions of Genius, behind Genius. But there was a big problem that wasn't solved. And it didn't get solved until about 3 months ago. So this is why it wasn't in the white paper in the first place, to be frank. There was a big problem in the prior conception of the stability pool. And that problem was how do you incentivize a user to put in collateral? How do you have the stability pool continuously incentivize people to put in collateral, even if people are settling the Genius debt? Well, and the other problem was actually kind of simple, but the other problem was, how do you price it? How does the stability pool, how do you have an artificial intelligence figure out a price to do this for people? And the algorithm for that ended up being extremely simple. But about 3 months ago, an idea came to me for this, and I shared it with the other person who had been involved in the tokenomics for a long time, the other person, Essen, that I mentioned earlier. Excuse me. Shared it as well, to the Hex guys. And they're just like, wow, really? That got solved? I'm super busy right now, sorry. And another one didn't really, was like, wow, that's cool. Like, I'd love to hear about it later. I'm having a good time. So the PhD in math, and he's also an engineer for, I think, like, it's not mechanical engineering. I think it's like thermal, whatever. And I don't remember. I should ask him. But he's also an excellent Python developer. You know, all the math people today, they do Python, MATLAB, and stuff like that. And so he was like, yeah, okay. All right, these are new ideas. Yeah, all right. And so simulations were built from there. But yeah, this was a very unsolved problem. But it was still a big birth to incentives and human attention and intention. It was a big birth to genius. And it was kind of depressing that the big birth of genius, well, it wasn't depressing, it was exciting. These original ideas, right? Like, as I started talking with other people about 3 years ago to get their interest, talk with them about it, have somebody tell me, oh, you mean Hex? I'm like, what the hell's Hex? What the hex is Hex, man? You know, that strategy wasn't going to work because we couldn't solve something like that. You know, it hadn't been done before. Some magic had to happen. Some mathematical magic had to happen. And but all this other inspiration came from it, and it was amazing. But then I tell you, holy carp! You know, the fish carp. When a solution came, it wasn't even called stability pool, but when a solution came to how to incentivize and create, birth from creation, market arbitrage without having an oracle, because, you know, oracles can be a problem, or whatever, without having an oracle, but having it be in a smart contract, that was insanely exciting. And lots of new math problems were born because, after all of our simulations for Genius had to be run again. And, you know, we're talking about, we could have more servers, but we're talking about 10 different servers that are running 24/7 to prove what we're doing and to see how crazy the tokenomics can be broken. And instead, they're working beautifully. And a big core to this is phi, the golden ratio. The golden ratio in the universe is very magical. It's beautiful. And you know what? When you use it in your application, you can find very beautiful things too. So, yeah. So, anyways, luckily, well, not luckily, but because of all of the sheer amount of work that had been done prior over the last 2 years, or at least before development started, all of the Python scripts, etc., that, you know, all the spreadsheets, Python scripts, Sigma 4, whatever it's called. I don't know how to use that stuff. I just see it. That stuff was incredibly valuable. So, all right. The stability pool, is it like a premium deficit on the market price like Grayscale Trust? No, it's not. But it's interesting you say that, because I can see that. I can see how you came to that conclusion. But no, it doesn't work like that. You see, with companies like Grayscale, you know, their fees. Imagine a company like Grayscale, the fees they get for giving you a financial opportunity. Imagine that the company didn't take that fee, but instead they gave it back to everybody else. You know, people would be performing better, right? That might not be the best. Um, that might not be the best analogy, but it's one. It's one.